Welcome to the Idea to Value podcast, where in every episode we highlight the latest insights into creativity and innovation from experts around the world. I'm your host, Nick Skillicorn. I care about the evidence behind what makes ideas happen, and I've already helped thousands of people just like you through my unique insights into recent scientific findings of how creativity works. I also show you how to turbocharge innovation programs so they finally deliver on the value and ideas you've been struggling to execute. Get your free training on how creativity can be improved by registering now at www.ideatovalue.com. Now let's get on with today's episode. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Idea to Value podcast interview today, and I'm very pleased to have Zal Dastur from Lucep, a software development company based in Singapore and India, to talk about his experiences with innovation and entrepreneurship. Hello, Zal.
Hey, Nick. Really great to be here, man. Thanks for asking me to do this interview.
No problem. So why don't you give us a quick background on your company and what it does?
Sure. So Lucep is an instant response callback app. We work primarily with either high-value B2C businesses or B2B SMEs. And what we provide is a tool that allows a company sales team to know the instant somebody has requested for a callback from their website. And then the salesperson can get analytics and data on that specific visitor. So for example, we're able to tell you what pages he's looked at on your site, how much time he spent on your site, what brought him to your site, and a lot of other information. And so, sorry about that. And the idea is that the sales team can then instantly respond and hopefully close that deal faster, because our statistics show that if you're the first person to respond to a lead, you become something like 50% more likely to close that customer.
That's, that's the way the industry is going, isn't it? With trying to get the sort of one-on-one communications with people. And one of the reasons I was so keen to talk to you guys is in the last couple of months, you guys have been getting quite a lot of interest from like the innovation community about your product, and you got what was it, an award in India or
Yeah, we won a couple of awards in India as being like some of the leading top 30 startups that are coming out of India at the moment, primarily because we're sitting here trying to disrupt an industry that has been a bit old school. Your small B2B businesses, business tends to be done by knowing somebody, taking them out for drinks or going to an event and things like that. Whereas what we're trying to do is we're trying to say, hey, you need to come into this digital age. And we want to take care of that because we know you don't understand it, but our tool will do everything that you need to do on your site for you without you having to put in any input. And at the end of the day, humans have sold using voice and communicating for thousands of years, and we're going to continue to do that. So we just want to help to sort of join that dot.
Now, one of the other things that I like about you and your partner as well is you haven't exactly had the easiest ride when it comes to finally getting success. So I've been following you.
Describe what we have as the moment success either, but yeah, it's definitely been it's been an interesting journey to get here, and obviously internally, there's been a lot of product innovation and product development and change to find a product that we think is right. So this is not the product that Lucep is now is not what we originally conceptualized the business to be. It's not even the product that we had originally built, and it's an adaptation of a technology that we had built previously.
So why don't you take our listeners through that story, that journey you guys went through? Where did you guys start? And the reason why I think this is fascinating is, like more or less every group of entrepreneurs, you started with what I think was quite a clear idea on what the market wanted. But then when you hit the market, things needed to change. So why don't you tell us where you guys started and how things sort of evolved over time to where you are now?
Sure. And our startup, the story is actually very different to most startups. Most startups, you have the idea, you sit down and you develop a product, and it's like three guys in a garage. Originally, what happened is we were part of an R&D team in a small Singaporean business. And that, I mean, small as in like, it was under 200 million in revenue. They had like 11 offices. Um, and eventually my partner Kaish would become the CEO of that company. And what we were actually told to do, and the R&D division specifically, was to develop software that would help this company, which was a traditional hardware seller, add value add to their business. Now, the company was going to be taken over by a company from China, and we didn't want to be part of that. So what we did is we did a management buyout and took that whole, our division and our team independent. And at that time, we had one product, which was probably, and still is today, like one of the best and most advanced queue management systems on the planet. So I literally mean like, queuing in a bank or a doctor's clinic and something like that. And we had contracts with, some of the largest banks in the world, some of the largest medical chains in Asia. And, that's a great business. It's a solid, what they call lifestyle business that would generate a bit of money for you. But the reality is that we looked and we kind of did an assessment of the market, and we saw that queuing, it's really only required in 3 industries, banking, medical, and government. And those 3 industries, you really require a lot of time, effort, and money to sort of crack. And being a startup, when you're on a limited budget, you don't really have the cash flow to last a 2-year sales cycle.
Yeah.
So what we did is we looked at this technology and we said, okay, what can we do with this? And to be honest, me and my partner, we don't love big corporates. What we love are small businesses. We love to help people that are in the same position that us, and how can we create a better situation for any small business that's out there and trying to compete with bigger players. And what we said is that the way that we can do this is by making that person or that sales team have more information, be able to respond quicker to leads, and be able to show that they're hungrier for the business that is coming from these from the web. And the interesting thing is, if you track a lot of technology, what you'll see is that traditionally the early adopters of technology tend to be consumers, and then at a later date, the big businesses carry on. So I mean, like an iPhone is a wonderful example, because I know up until about 5 years ago, there were still corporates which insisted that you had to have a BlackBerry. So, that company doesn't exist anymore, and all those corporates have now had to move to iPhones, where the consumers were on that maybe 5 to 6 years earlier. It's the same thing that you'll see now with digital advertising. Companies that are trying to attract online consumers and more B2C spend a lot of money to attract you to their site. B2B people don't tend to do that, but they will. They will in about 4 to 5 years. But the idea is that now you will see that like companies that have CEOs below the age of 40 tend to also be far more adventurous about using this type of a tool or technology to attract business. And the way that we fit in is, if you're buying something, traditionally what we focus on is like a lot of the IT support and software. So if you're buying like a support contract that's worth $500,000, nobody's going online and putting their credit card down and without meeting somebody, hearing what they've done. It's not like you're buying a t-shirt or some clothing. It's like a very serious investment for your company. So as a result, you want to speak to people. You usually actually have some sort of a bidding or tender process that will happen as part of it. And so we created a link, which is these people that are actually coming to you and are actually interested in the business and the value that you provide. They want to hear from you quickly. Like if you go to a company like, for example, SAP, I was talking to one of their sales guys, and they told me that it could take anywhere from 8 to 10 weeks before somebody from SAP has responded to an inbound lead on their website. Now, you respond to somebody in 8 to 10 weeks, they don't remember why they contacted you, or they've met somebody else. So what we've seen, and we've got these customer testimonials, which we love, which are, somebody comes and raises a lead on their website at 8:30 or 9 o'clock at night, and the company's been able to respond to that person, been able to send them a quote, and been able to close a deal before any of the other companies that they had reached out to had even replied to them on email. That's really the power of speed and understanding of what the visitor is looking for. So we realized that we would rather be helping these small businesses grow than help like large corporations streamline or organize their branches. So we've moved more into that area, but it did take a little bit of tweaking, and we had to understand about what can we do with the technology, and is there a market for this? Is this something that we want? Is this something that people want, or is this just something that we think is cool?
Is that how the product started off, or did you evolve as you looked through different markets and different user needs?
The product actually started as an experiment. So we were coming up with ideas of things to do, and we really liked this idea. So what we said is we'd build an MVP for the product, and then and try to market it to people that we knew. And if we could get, I think the number that we said was 30. So I said if we could get 30 people to sign up and register for this tool, then at least we might think that we're onto something. Now, don't ask me where this number 30 came from.
Mm-hmm.
It just seemed like it was big enough to be serious. I think in the end, we got over 100 that signed up. So I thought, okay, that's interesting. And that's something that's there. And as we've grown and as we continue to grow, and I think we surpassed I think we passed 700 companies, which means that we've got about 3,000 users, and all of that in under a year. So, I think we're there is definitely a touch point here that we are reaching, and our churn, which is what a lot of SaaS companies really judge themselves by, is actually very low. So once a company starts using us and actually starts getting the business and getting the leads from our tool, they find it very hard to sort of let go because they see that business is coming in.
It sounds like the perfect scenario where you've got something, you test it out, it resonates with the market, and now you've got a solid business behind it. Is it always been this easy, or has this been the culmination of any other lessons you've learned, either at this business or somewhere else?
I don't think it's easy even now, and yeah, I might say that, but still every day, feels like a struggle. And me and my partner actually had a startup previous to this, which we ran. And that gave us a lot of interesting innovation because that startup was in India. And doing business in India is it's like somebody has, they say like jumping out of the fire and frying pan into the fire.
Yeah.
This is like somebody tipped the frying pan over the fire and you didn't have much of a choice but to get burnt. But the amazing thing about India was it taught us how to be flexible. It taught us how to deal with it. So in India, what we ran previously was a website that was dedicated to lead generation for weddings and events and conferences. And we took a model that was very understood in the West and brought that to India with the same kind of idea. So it would be a commission-based structure. Now, the thing within India is that, everybody will tell you that Indians are very price sensitive. And what we discovered is they're not only price sensitive, they're just very reluctant to pay. And so unless you work out some system where you're earning that money before you provide them the service, it becomes very difficult. So we did a good job. And I think in terms of like SEO, we're talking about 10 years ago now, almost about 10 years ago. We were far ahead of the curve in terms of what we were doing with SEO and generating traffic. And we had thousands and thousands of visitors, and we were generating leads and all of that. But what would happen is a hotel would take one of our leads and then they would say, okay, that's great, but the wedding was only one day. And then you would call the customer and you would find out the wedding was 4 days. So they were trying to stiff you on the commission for the other 3 days. Or they would tell you that your commission check is here, but we're not going to mail it to you. So they know that paying for the flight to fly out there and fly back just to get the commission check, you'd be running at a loss. So chances are you wouldn't do it. And the threat of saying, look, we're not going to send you another lead, it didn't seem to bother them at the time. I admit that India was a very different animal then than it was now. People were not very comfortable with the web or comfortable doing business online. I think that whole perception has changed. But we must have changed our payment model and our how we went out to the client maybe half a dozen times in the space of 2 years.
The classic pivot mechanism.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even this was a pivot because, me and my partner sat down and we realized that the queue system business was a very limited business. The largest queuing business in the world has a market cap of about $500 million, and this is a 35-year-old company. So when you take a look at the fact that these guys have been in this industry for so long and they've been doing so much, but this is the max that you can grow, in .com terms, it wasn't scalable because nobody had hit like $10 billion in evaluation. So we started looking at what opportunities we could provide using the same technology. And that's really where we were kind of being innovative and different and coming up with that as an idea.
It's a great example of what seems like an overnight success, where this new hot startup in India is coming out. Everyone only knows about their most recent work, but they don't know about all the years of work they go in to make it happen and to teach you the skills you need as an entrepreneur.
Well, there's a wonderful quote by, I think it was Narayan Murthy, who's the guy that started one of India's largest tech companies back in the 90s. And he said, it took me 25 years to become an overnight success. And I really think that, when you say that to any entrepreneur, they kind of laugh because there's so much truth in that nobody knows what you've had to do to get to this point.
So let's talk about innovation now with you guys. How do you talk about the concept internally, and how do you sort of mix the effort between generating new ideas but not getting so sidetracked by all of these future concepts that you take your eye off the current business?
It's very difficult, honestly, because we have quite a large team now, right? And so everybody has an opinion as to what direction the tool should go. So one of the innovations that we're bringing in a very big way is artificial intelligence. And the idea that we're going to have an artificial intelligence system that is going to understand what is the best way to engage with a visitor on your site, right? And how can they do that with the highest probability that this visitor is then going to turn into a lead. So the AI is a large part of what we're building out, but obviously anytime where you have customers, the customers always come to you with thousands of their ideas on how to make the product better. And of course, my sales guys and my customer service guys, they all want to bring us every idea that every customer has ever given us, right? And we work with entrepreneurs. These are not shy people. If they have an opinion about your product, they're going to tell you about the product, and they're going to tell you what they want to, how to improve it. So I think the process is quite ad hoc, and we have like this sort of unlimited roadmap of the technology. But we do, it's really between me and my business partner where we sit down and we try to understand what are the patterns that are emerging, right? So if we hear 50 customers tell us the same thing, then it becomes a bit obvious. But everybody within the company has an idea of how it should grow and how it should develop and how it should expand. For example, one of the things that a lot of our customers are asking us for is to incorporate a chat application or a chat tool. Now, traditionally for our business, chat is seen as almost a competitor. And once we incorporate chat into our tool, what we are very concerned about is we don't want people then to start like sort of putting us in the same category as all the other chat apps out there. Because when you start comparing us, feature for feature, we will come out short every time because our tool is not a chat tool. So it's understanding that, yeah, even though some customers are asking for this, we have to work with the customers that are seeing value in the product and the way that we provide it, And usually a lot of the customers, when you get to the bottom of it, the reason why they ask for chat is because it's just understood. It's because it's what they know, right? And it's like Henry Ford once said that if I asked my customers what they wanted, they would have said a faster horse. The idea is that we want to provide something to our customers that we see value in, and we don't want to just shoehorn in whatever every request that comes in, because obviously every request takes dev time and effort to put that in as well.
So take me through a day in the life of Lucep. Um, how is it split up? Is there a sort of methodology behind it yet, or is it still operating in startup mode where everything's super urgent all the time and you're dealing with everything on a one-on-one basis?
Oh, so you're familiar with startups then? Yeah, it's
Yes.
it's very much you know we do have some processes in place. I mean, there are certain challenges that come with managing a team in two different countries. So we have a big part of our development team as well as our sales and customer support teams based out of India. And then we have sort of our more senior developers, our CTO and the co-founders that sit in Singapore, because Singapore is where the market is where a lot of customers are. And we try to be regimented. So I know that the dev team, first thing in the morning, they have like a 15-minute, 20-minute huddle on just what everybody's doing today. And then there's a weekly call on Tuesdays, which is a real deep dive into what each person is doing. Now, even though I'm not the technical partner and I'm not a technical person, I sit in on those calls because those calls tend to dictate the way that the product is being built. And then obviously from the sales side, we do a twice a week catch up in terms of what our targets are, whether we're reaching our targets, how can we improve, what are the problems that are coming up with that. But I do think that like there is a real extra layer of challenge that's built in when you're trying to manage two different offices or two distinct countries. Especially when you're so small, and the procedures aren't in place because nobody knows what procedures to put in place. So we're kind of figuring out everything as we go. I think that as the team scales, we obviously get in more and more formal structures, but right now it's at a very informal level.
I mean, it's been a fascinating insight into the workings of a early stage startup. But before we finish, what sort of advice could you give to anyone who's either right at the beginning of their startup journey, or even the step before where they're considering starting up a business? What sort of actionable insight has really brought you a lot of value?
So I think one of the most important things is there really a need for your product, right? I can't tell you how many people I meet, and they tell me that, their app will tell you where the closest coffee shop is, right? And I'm like, that's great, but so will Google Maps, right? So, the two things that I talk to any startup about is really like, is there a need? Are people willing to use your product? And then the other thing that I ask them, which you'd be really surprised at how many don't have an answer for, which is, where's the money?
Yeah.
Right? How do you intend to make money? Now, look, I appreciate that guys like Facebook probably didn't start with that mantra. And if somebody had told them, hey, how are you planning on making money from this? And they said advertising, you'd be laughed out, right? I get it. But the reality is that if you don't have some semblance of an idea of where this money is going to come from or how you're going to earn money or earn revenue, then you're really going to struggle to get any sort of funding or, it's all well and good that you build an app. That's great. But if people aren't A, going to use it, or B, willing to pay for it, or if there isn't some other way for you to make money through it, then as a business case, you're really going to struggle. I think people get very caught up in the idea of like building something that they love or passionate about, and they forget that it's a business. And the objective of a business is to make a profit. And people will hear about Uber, losing $2 billion in a year, but being worth 70 billion. And that's true. And that's great. But Uber has an idea of how they intend to make money, right? They know there is a path to profitability there. And that's what these guys are buying into when they invest in Uber. Most startups that I've spoken to, or at least very early stage, these are the two key things. Will somebody actually use it and pay for it? Is there an actual need? And how are you going to make money?
Zal, thank you so much for your time. And then finally, where can people go to find out more information?
So lucep.com is our website. Obviously, you can follow us on Facebook, which is Lucep Team, facebook.com/Lucep Team. But yeah, our website really tells you all the info that you might need.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot for the opportunity, Nick.
Cheers.
Today's episode was made possible by members of our premium Deep Creativity Training Program. For less than the price of half a candy bar per day, you too can get world-exclusive daily exercises which push your creativity past its comfort barrier to make you better able to generate ideas in all aspects of your life and work. Invest in yourself now by going to www.ideatovalue.com/deepcreativity and using coupon code PODCAST for 25% off your first order. And don't forget that if you found this episode interesting, to like and share it, and to leave us a review in your favorite podcast player. See you again in the next episode.